Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Fatin Wahida binti Ahmad Zuraiti and we are from group 3. So today my group will explain about metal forming and to be exact solid state forming. Okay, so what is metal forming? Okay, metal forming is a subset of fabrication that will involve the reshaping of the metals while the metal is still in the solid state. And by taking advantage of the plasticity of certain metals, this forming process can make it possible to move a solid piece of metal from the current shape to the desired form. And this metal forming process can accomplish this whole process without melting the material to avoid any difficulties in the handling of molten metal or integrity of molded products.
Hi guys, I'm King. So now I'm going to explain the hot working and cold working. Okay, first, hot working. Hot working deforms matter above its recrystallization temperature, while cold working deforms below its recrystallization temperature, which means they are hot working is above the recrystallization while cold is below its recrystallization temperature. Okay, next, hot working is usually occurs at temperature higher than 60% of its metal's melting point on Kelvin scale. Okay, so how does the hot working process? Okay, the process is occurs when above the recrystallization temperature, metal grains which are stretched from former processes applied to it will melt the metals into new unstretched grains that are more ductile and less hard. Hence, this makes the metal easier to form. Okay, next, for cold working, just like I mentioned before, it deforms metal below its recrystallization temperature. Next, it typically performs for most metals at room temperature or only slightly higher. Okay. Next, as long as the operating temperature is below than the metal recrystallization temperature, is considered as cold working. Okay, there's a note below there which is temperature involved in these processes are not static, which means it depends on the metal itself. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, the advantages and disadvantages of hot working. Okay, for the advantages of hot working, it is best for time when a large amount of deformation is needed because it takes a smaller amount of force to form hot metal. Okay, next, the advantages is it allows the metal to stretch far more than in cold forming, which means we can shape it more easier and easily. Okay, the next advantages is it doesn't work harden the metal, which allows the metal to keep its ductility. So it will regain its softness and ductility. So it will not affect the hardness of the metals. Okay, uh, the disadvantages. There are few disadvantages of hot working. First, we will get rougher surface finish due to oxidation. This is because the materials or the metal will be worked under the very high temperature. Okay. The next disadvantages is we will get less accurate dimension due to uneven shrinkage of the metal. Okay. Okay. Last but not least, the hot working process is a costlier process due to its shorter tool life. Okay, so for the next slide, I would like to invite the next presenter, Ng Yang Chen, to explain the advantages and disadvantages of cold working.
Okay, good afternoon to doctors and my fellow friend. My name is Ng Yang Cheng and I'm gonna talk about advantages and disadvantages of co-working. So co-working is totally different from hot working, where co-working creates stronger product. However, it takes more energy to make it. Thus, let's start with advantages. So first of all, we all know that with cold working, it creates stronger product. Second is it provides closer tolerance, good surface finish, and require minimum machining afterward. This method also creates more strength and hardness in the metal from strain hardening. As we know, cold working doesn't require fuel or furnace. It allows the manufacturer to save on costs. Alright, now for the disadvantages of cold working. Since the metal is cold work, thus it needs more energy or power to form it, and the amount that we can form the metal is limited due to the strain hardening that's happened. And lastly, cold work metal can't be deformed easily as hot work metal. There are some manufacturing process that require bulk workpiece like bars to create a finished product. So we are going to see some type of bulk metal forming. The first is rolling. It sends a metal stock through a set of rollers that deform the original stock and produce the desired shape that we wanted. This method produces tight, repeatable tolerance and high strength metals and little to no scrap. Usually the product that produced by rolling are sheets, strips, and many more. Second type is forging. Forging use hammer, press, and some other compressing machine to shape metal stock. Products made by the cold forging are often called as cold-headed product. It is often used for aerospace and automotive application. The third is extrusion. Extrusion is a process where metals are forced through a die and came out as a tube, which has the same cross-section to the die. This process is extensively used in pipes and steel rod manufacture. This method allows forming hollow shape without seam welding as well as complex cross-section. And last but not least is called drawing. So drawing is a bit same like extrusion. However, the difference is the workpiece is pulled instead of pushed through the die. As the metal is pulled, it stretches thinner into a desired shape. While drawing is mostly done on bulkier metal, it should not be confused with deep drawing, which is a process for sheet metal.
My name is Amira and I'm going to explain about types of sheet metal forming. Sheet metal forming uses metal forms with a high surface area such as plates and sheeting to form products. This can include deep drawing, bending, and stamping. For deep drawing, it involves sending metal stock through a set of rollers which deform the original stock and output it into the shape needed. Sheets, strips, rails, and other similar shapes can be produced by rolling. This method produces tight, repeatable tolerances, high strength metal, and little or no scrap. Bending involves the reshaping of metal around a linear axis and is usually accomplished through a press brake. It also provides less residual stress and roll forming. For stamping, it uses a press to create indentation of the desired shape in metal. This method is good for higher volumes, including complex parts in short time periods. It can also produce consistent products without variation. There are 6 types of metal forming tools, and the first one is presses. Presses create stampings. Presses shape metal by crushing it between a top and a bottom called bed. It comes in mechanical, hydraulic, and pneumatic types. The second one is benders. Benders come in different varieties depending on whether the metal is a sheet or bulk material. Press brakes create V-shape and U-shape bends in sheet metal by pressing the sheet down into a die with a die block. There is also tube and bar bending equipment in manual and machine types. Third one is roll forming machinery. Roll forming machinery flattens and thins metal by running it between two rollers and is often used to curl it into coils. It can come in several different types depending on the need, including machines that can process multiple workpieces or that have multiple sets of rollers for a single piece. The next one is dies. Dies is a form to shape raw metals. It is being used for stamping, bending, drawing, and extrusion as metal is pulled or pushed through them to be shaped. Next one is extruders. Extruders force metal through a die to shape and strengthen it. It can use direct, indirect, hydrostatic, lateral, or impact methods to extrude the metal. The last one is drawing machines. Drawing machine is the opposite of extruders. It pulls metal through dies or draw plates to thin and strengthen it. Draw benches are also used for the drawing process.
Okay, so for metal forming applications, we have 5 of them. Okay, the first one is we usually use this metal forming application to create all manner of products, including tubes, pipes, and wire. Second, many of the metal objects that we encounter in our everyday life, in our daily life, will likely produce by one or more metal forming operations. The third, usually automotive industry use this metal forming for their door frames and their bumpers. Okay, the fourth one, metal forming also been used in aerospace, which forms metal for engine parts, structural blades, and also structural parts. And the last one is metal is also formed for architectural purpose, such as for their decorative molding or for the roof parts. As a conclusion, this metal forming process has several advantages as a process, including a quick production rate, lending the finished product better mechanical properties, and also can avoiding waste in the raw material. Okay, so we know that this metal forming process is a basic process that usually used in the constructions of process equipment. Thus, this process are generally used to construct the vessels, heat exchange, pipes, and other equipments for the facility. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.